What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Foxhound Finance, where we analyze the stock market using technical analysis. Please understand that I'm not a financial advisor. Nothing in these videos is financial advice. Please do your own research and buy what you want to buy. All right, guys, I'm back again. And of course, my weekly schedule continues for me. I am almost done with my busy life. And I say that lightly because you never know what happens out here. But nonetheless, I'm back again with another AMC update, only going to be covering AMC today. And we're just going to jump really into the technicals. Box office is sitting close to $1 billion, I think, at this point. Probably by the end of the weekend, we'll be close to that. I think we're around like 900 million. So kind of trending a little bit behind by like 10 million for some of the bigger years. But honestly, I like what I'm seeing going forward for the rest of the summer. And I do think we're going to exceed the Q2s from prior. So no real big update there. Everything is going pretty well, I think, with that side of things on the fundamental side. So we're going to jump right in here and we're going to look at what I got set up here. All right, structure wise. Again, same thing, guys. Those red lines, those are resistances that we need to break, which I told you before. We did that last video. I talked about this, the break in the 556 resistance trend line, and then our 1188 resistance trend line. So we broke both of those, as you can see right here. And then again, after that huge push up, I think we were hitting nearly like 100%, right, on that move. So we're getting the drawdown now, which I told you I could see happening. If we're not going to get the straight shot up to the levels that I told you, then I could definitely see that playing out. So let's dive in a little deeper into the structure. And you're probably asking yourself why I have this drawn up here. And basically how I map this out, guys, with my polyline is I use the volume profile fixed range indicator, which I will show you at the end, but also our rough support and resistances from prior back here. And I was able to kind of draw out what I think the progression could look like if it goes slow. So again, guys, by now, if you've been following me, you know that I do a lot of things conservatively here because I don't like to just go with the hype and just say we're going to get straight shots and we're squeezing every day like everyone else is doing. I want to prepare you guys for a more patient outlook, but I think you might like this because as you can see, even though it may not be the speed at which we want, like if this does work out the way it works out, we're going to get a steady progression to the upside. Okay. And I showed you this with other stocks like Carvana and how Robinhood developed and how Unity is developing and how Rivian is developing and how Neo is developing. Some of those are a little further ahead than AMC and even GME. But nonetheless, I think it's cool that we get a progression that we can see live rather than just rushing and having the anxiety of chasing, a big squeeze candle, that could be deleted literally within the next day. You know what I mean? So if it turns into a more fundamental, progression, I'm okay with that. I'm not really being too picky here. Obviously, as you've seen how much drawdown we've suffered anyway over the last 4 or 5 years. So if it does turn out this way, hey, great. We have at least a slow look at what it could be like. And as I zoom in, again, we came down through that channel I drew and we broke above that channel right here. So that to me, guys, is a very good sign. I know there are still people out there saying that this could go back down to 50 cents or 70 cents now. I don't know. A lot of that is still up in the air. But I told you guys that when we have a breakout, I want to see a test on this resistance line that we broke. And obviously, guys, we got that. We kind of did get the test. Although usually I see the test like this at the end of the move, but we kind of broke out and then the candles did touch this. So maybe this is enough and price was so low that we don't need to do the big test all the way back down. Like we don't need to see the candle spread. I don't want to move this too much. Here, I'll use this line. Maybe we don't need to see candles come all the way back down like this and touch this resistance line here and then go back up. That would be nice if this was sufficient enough as your test, quote unquote. But if not, then I see it working out this way, either way, where whether you come back down and then go back up and progress through, you have this support here that we've created. And again, I have the all-time low support right here at the 93-cent level. Right. So now we have two pretty decent supports that so far we're respecting. We didn't see this just come up and then have a straight red candle all the way back down through it, okay? So just pay attention to that this week. And to be fair, I made this mock-up drawing, guys, back probably here at this candle, okay? So when I was drawing out the levels on this poly line, this thing has now been tracking since this big candle. It's been tracking this entire setup. All right. And I know people could bullshit and they could tweak and move these lines, but I'm not going to move it. I'm going to leave this thing still. So you can snap a photo of this if you want to see if I'm bullshitting in the future. But I'm going to leave this alone and see if this trend follows, even if it's like, if it follows at 70% in likeness and similarity. I think that would be freaking really huge because it would tell me that this low is certainly in and that we're going to continue creeping up to those price targets I shared with you guys last time. And again, if I move this all the way up, again, this is going to be going obviously a slow progression to like next spring, right? I'm just saying if this goes really drawn out and we don't get this move until next, really, we don't get the super peak move past the $13 into like 2027 for whatever reason, we have it mapped out. Now, if this starts to accelerate faster, I'm all for that too. And you'll see it deviate or not, right? We're going to see that live. So I'm going to keep the pattern up there, as annoying as it can be to kind of see for me, and try to show you guys things. I just want to keep it locked in to see how much it follows that. So that is what I got for at least a progression of the structure. And then I want to go into our pivot points really quickly. And again, right here, we are now actually, this is perfect. We are in the May pivot point schedule. Okay, so here we go. All right, here is your April set of pivot points, and we did break those. We exceeded our 3, so that was beautiful. So now we are descending down, and we are just kissing the new May pivot point line, the median. Okay, so there's a candle getting split kind of in half. So when we go into Monday trading, we will see where the candle prints, if it's going to be above or below this level, right? And again, I already told you guys, if you get multiple candles printing below this pivot point line here in blue, then you're probably coming down at least to S1 would be the first target. That would be $1.03. Okay. For whatever reason, if something catastrophic happens with the market or with the theater chain or Adam Aaron, if he decides to do something with dilution or whatever, like those can be excuses, guys, for us to come down and hit any of these supports. Okay. And again, people who are saying that 70 cents could be the new low or whatever, I don't even know how that would be possible unless you go to S2 or somewhere in the middle here, because look at this, look at the supports. I mean, S2, guys, is freaking 54 cents. So that is, I guess, your Pantano zone or whatever. But still, it would be on the table if something catastrophic hit. I don't want to act like this is impossible for these to like ever hit these supports now, but I also want to have you keep in mind that the box office, like going forward, looks so good right now, and we're like tracking really well there with the numbers. So I mean, it would take something, like I said, for Adam Aaron to do something like maybe it's like a super massive dilution or something, and you get a fat candle down, and it touches it briefly, and then just V shapes out of it really hard. I would expect something like that, but I don't see a slow kill all the way down to 50 cents or whatever, and then it doesn't make sense while everything else is really starting to turn up for 2026 in the box office fundamentally. The other thing with that being said is we have the Q1, or sorry, is it Q1? I think, yeah, it's Q1 earnings right here this week coming up. So we will pay attention to that. Let's see how our price action responds to that. And I think one of the ways it's going to respond is maybe not so abruptly, but just continue to trickle down to this support line here, right? Or we break this ascending support line and we go and actually do the full on test of the resistance at the dollar-ish range, $1.03. So maybe we do get that because Q1 earnings isn't that great or whatever. Maybe we still incurred a loss or something. There's some bullshit excuse, guys, on that side, right, that allows us to finish the move out before we start to progress for the remainder of Q1 earnings on, I should say. Okay. So long story short, that is what I'm seeing there with the structure. And then I guess pivot points for the upside, since we're on the topic, if we print above in the bullish case sense and start getting the candles above, maybe Q1 earnings is actually really good. Maybe it's a good sign. Maybe there's an excuse there to keep printing above and we just continue this pattern that I've got drawn up rather than coming down. then you would get at least R1 at $1.98, which is going to be significant, and I'll show you in a little bit. Your target 2 would be 243, and then R3 for May is going to be 292, which is actually even more significant. And again, I will show you that in just a little bit when we go to the VP fixed range tool. Okay. So hope that paints the picture clear for the pivot point setup, and then also to the structure that I got drawn up here. Let's take a look at the EMA bands now. And again, I expect nothing less because we did take a 50% drop, right? Right on the nose. So your EMAs now are starting to curl back down, right? And cross down. But what I want to see, again, like I just told you guys, is I want to see price action bounce at this level so that these EMAs curl easily right back to the upside. I don't want to see a significant fall off, right? Where they curl down and just start flowing back down here, right? I mean, that's my greedy self speaking. Okay. Selfishly, I don't want to see them have to come all the way down here just to test. I guess if I'm being optimistic, the only good thing is that you do get a chance at $1, because if you see this come back down and test here and then start printing back up and it starts to follow my flow that I got drawn back up here in progression, then you get a little chance to rack up some shares if you want, to average down if you want. That's your choice. But that's the optimistic view of it. But I really want to see it stop here. I don't want to see us breaking back under this effing 556 line. Okay. I don't want to see that. Okay. I really don't want to see that. And I don't think we will based on what I just said prior. So we do have room to come back down here. If this does curl down, maybe we can get, on earnings, even if they want to just bring it back down to this level real quick from $1.45 to $1.30. That's like a 15-cent drop. It's a really a nothing burger kind of move. And then if it wants to be more catastrophic looking and scary, they could break this support here and we could touch the actual resistance line here at $1.09, as I said. Okay, so those are your EMAs. They still look really good. I don't care if we start doing little hilltop moves like that where it curls down and then curls back up right away. And again, what I saw with Robinhood early on when Robinhood broke out, when I was looking at that structure, and again, rounding bottom setup here, was Robinhood started doing this thing where it would go up for like 30 days and then come down for 30 days and then come back up for 30 days and then down for 30 days. And it was like you could just paint this, like it was like giant ends that were forming on it, like hills. It just kept curling over, making the little humps on the support line. And so that's kind of what I'm hoping to see here, because that is like the same setup structurally. And there's multiple stocks, like I've shown you guys in the past, with the same kind of upward progression. All right. If we're not getting the super January, June squeeze style move where it's over a 7-day period, or, even a 3-day period where we're having those explosive moves. All right. That's just, obviously that's on the table too, but I'm just being realistic and patient. So that is your EMA setup. Let's take a look at our MACD. All right. So on the daily, yes, again, 50% drop. You can see that the bullish volume was up, coming down, crossed over to the bearish territory. And again, you do have the cross down. So based on how this cross down is looking, I don't anticipate that we would just curl back up, because I mean, look, we're already above the histogram bars here, right? We already had the MACD and signal line go above the histogram lines here. So it would make sense that maybe they use Q1 as some kind of FUD, and this comes back down maybe to like even matching the histogram where it is right here, and then we get the continuation, right? It's just hard to say because I just showed you, like, look how close we are to my ascending support line here, and there's about 15 cents, guys, that we could possibly get out of it. So I don't know how much room that actually has there, if that's going to be enough for this to drop. And again, it's already crossed over to the downside. So I'm kind of right now seeing MACD. I mean, you could get the break through this support and then come down to this at $1. So that would be 45-cent drop, 40-cent drop. And that would probably justify that move with the MACD. But I'm not completely sold on that either from a bearish scenario. All right. But I do see that crossover happening right there, obviously. On the weekly, let's take a look at that on a bigger time frame. And this is where, you do have to kind of look at the top-down approach, because when you look at the weekly MACD situation, you have the MACD line crossed over the signal line, and it's heading up. And the volume bars here are dead even. It doesn't look like they're completely dropping off, even though we had that nasty 50% drop after that big push. So let's just see how this progresses. I'm kind of, like I said, 50-50. I'm not going to be completely certain yet until I see how this week goes. And then on the bigger time frame, I did mention the quarterly with you guys, and that is still not crossed over just yet. But look how freaking close the quarterly is to pop in here. So that is like super massive time frame. If you get that crossover, then yeah, you could have a significant push for sure. I do expect next quarter for that to happen minimum. So at the end of Q2 here, guys, I do see that bullish flip happening, and I think that's when we're going to get into our massive push to the upside. Okay. And again, all we have to go off of really is this. We've never seen AMC do a nice progression breakout squeeze. Like, it's just never happened in its history, right? Look at this drawdown here that we had way back in the past, and then it's just like boom, boom. It's like two back-to-back quarters of straight, 700% gains. I think what January was like 1,000%er, and then you had 700% for June. So again, I'm looking at it from the patient view, but I mean, by history, this is what I've seen before. So just be ready for all scenarios. I mean, you'll see that obviously you won't even really have a lot of time to plan, I guess, in a sense. You're just going to be in the throes of that massive run. Okay. But that is our MACD without getting too deep into that and going on and on. Let's take a look at our fixed VP tool before I close the video out for you guys. All right. And again, we're going to take the fixed range VP drawing from our last giant impulse move, which was at $11 right here. Okay. And again, this gives us like 2 years of the volume here. So let's go down to my marker here. Let me just make sure again. I want to make sure this is accurate on our. Oh, there-ish. Okay, that's good enough. So the reason why I said the pivot points, and I'll pop those right back up, just you're going to have to deal with the overstimulation here. So the reason I say the pivot point targets are so significant this month is because look at where they're sitting, right? Your upside targets, guys, are sitting in the biggest volume bar in this dotted line right here, okay? And I told you in my last video that, I could, it's probably 2 videos ago, to be honest, when I said if we get the breakout, I was looking at the volume right here. You see how there's this pocket in this zone here? I said if we got the breakout from that 556, like this right here was significant resistance and volume to trade through. But look at the pocket. There's not really anything here. Like, look how tiny these bars are. Okay. I'll just make those a little thicker. So nothing really here for price to deal with, and I saw it as we would come up to at least this bar here. So I think right now we are taking our little break, but this next push, as you can see how I have it drawn up, it's meeting that big volume bar here, which will be attraction and resistance, right? Like, price is going to be attracted to it because look, there's nothing here. So there's no resistance in this pocket. It gives us a nice clean shot to get up to that level before we get maybe another drawdown, right? So I'm just doing this like a progression on this line here. Like, let's just say we progress up to this dotted line. And again, that is sitting at 274 on the VP for that big bar right there. And again, I told you R3 is 292. So typically with the resistances right here, although those are our upside targets, if you hit any one of these, you can definitely pull back, right? Depending on how strong the volume is. And right here, you could see that R3 is sitting just above this big volume bar, and it would make sense if we pulled back, right? I kind of have this line drawn here, but this could even get extended up here. Like, if we wanted to, we can push it up here like this. Okay, and that would make sense, I think, that you tap R3 and then come down. But anywhere really in this region, I could see stoppage just below the bar, right at R2, and then come back down, right? And again, this support line can always be utilized. So that's why I'm going to leave the progression as is. Because yeah, we could definitely come to R3, right, guys? And it may not stop here and then bounce. It might come all the way back down to this support again before continuing, right? So just keep that in mind. There might be some slight deviations, but again, your pivot points and the way my structure is drawn out, it matches this perfectly for us to get a pullback here at the 274 level. Okay. So just keep that in mind. If that is going to be the case and we're going to fall back down, let's just see where we land, right? Because it's definitely possible to come back down to this bar, right down here. Like if you get rejected by this big volume bar, right, you could come back down and then, you'll be in this region around $1.50, $1.60. Again, that would line up right here around our support. And again, this support too may stretch out a little bit more. I'll see how price action touches it, but we'll see how far this really starts to round out, right? Instead of like this really tight V. But that's kind of what I have preliminarily for the setup with the VP. And obviously, when we get past this big volume bar here, as I said, guys, again, same scenario down here. Once you get past the significant resistance, well, these mini bars don't pose much of a threat, right? And obviously, after this one's pretty significant, but again, it's shorter. Price is going to be having an easier time to get through all this, especially the gray volume bars here. And again, that rides you all the way up to, 575. Again, we talked about that target and where it would meet resistance here from the 1390 resistance level. That would be pretty much your last one to break once you are ready to kind of go to that cliff that I showed you before on the left side here, right? This resistance line here is pretty much it. After that, we start to get those big gap ups here, right? If I pull these down for you guys, you'll see that. So that's pretty much what I could see progressing. And this could be shorter or it could be on the money. Either way, you guys got a nice visual of seeing price progression and what stands in the way. Rather than people just saying this is going to melt through all of this in one day, fine, maybe. But I'm telling you right here, this is what I'm seeing piece by piece so that you're not fooled, you're not being impatient, you're not having anxiety waiting for moves to just happen every single day. Like this should hopefully give you a little peace of mind from the slower side, right? That in the end, price is going to continue crawling to the upside. That's at least my belief right now based on what I'm seeing. If I see anything change, we'll try to dissect that. We'll see what the cause was, and then we just adjust from there. But long term, guys, I really feel like this is headed in a really good direction. And again, I'm excited for this summer for the movies that are coming out. I'm really genuinely excited to go to the movies and see them because I feel like now we're kind of getting back into our normal flow after the whole COVID spell and the writer strike stuff. I feel like movies are coming back now. We're starting to get a lot more to see. So if you guys have any questions, man, drop a comment down below. And if you're new, make sure to subscribe so you can follow along with us as this move starts to progress. Other than that, guys, I will try to update as soon as I can on a more frequent basis. But at this point in time, I'm kind of nearing the end of the project. So, I got to finish that stuff first unless something significant happens. But right here, guys, you have it in front of you. You can watch this video again if you need to figure out where we are. Again, I try to do little comments on my YouTube page in the community section, like I did, I think, a week or two ago when we were progressing upward. So I will try to do little comments like that, but if I can't, get a big video out. All right. So I will see you guys in the next video. Everybody take care. And again, we're going into the summer, so I hope you guys have a great start to the summer. All righty. I'll see you guys in the next one.